This is going back probably 10 years. I used to go to my parents' house for like Easter or Christmas or Thanksgiving, and we used to have family over. And my great uncle, his name's Clyde, he would always talk drums with me. He doesn't have a musical background. He grew up in church where the only thing that was done musically speaking was done with just voices, right, a cappella. So he would ask me about drumming, and I'd say, well, I have to go home and practice soon. And he would say, practice? What do you mean you need to practice? Don't you just hit things? And that always made me laugh, but it would really make me think about the fact that a lot of people think that is what drumming is. You literally just hit things, right? If only it were that easy. Drumming's the most challenging thing I've ever done, not just because of the independence, but just all of the different genres and tempos and styles. Hey, this is Matt Greiner from August Burns Red, and this is my Two Sticks story. I wasn't around music a whole lot as a kid, except for in church. And so when I started playing drums, I didn't really have a whole lot to go off of or to inspire me. In other words, I hadn't seen a lot of bands play. The bands that I saw first live in concert outside of the church setting were Newsboys, which is pretty much a church worship band, POD, DC Talk, those sort of bands. So to me, I didn't really like the music, but I always just focused on the drummer. And though I didn't know what he was playing, I was just enthusiastic about maybe one day sitting down and being able to play drums. I didn't know how to play a 4/4 beat. I didn't even probably know some of the fills that they were doing, but I knew it's what I wanted to do. So I played piano for 4 years, and I didn't really like piano, but I liked the rhythmic part of it. And so on the way home from lessons one day, my mom was driving me, and I remember on the dashboard of the car, I had my hands up on the dashboard, and I was playing like I was playing piano, but I was counting in 5. So it's an odd meter. So I was going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. I just thought, man, this is so cool how it doesn't line up on the same part. Once I get to 1 every time, this is a drummer thing. This isn't a piano thing anymore. I'm kind of done with piano. I don't really like the melody. I like the rhythm part. So I said to my mom, is it all right if I quit playing piano? It was kind of an important part of homeschooling that you play the piano. She was hesitant at the time, but was like, okay, you want to play drums? Sure, we'll do that. So I quit. I bought a snare drum, and my dad said, you can have a drum set after 1 year, but you have to stick with this and learn rudiments and stuff. I'm like, okay, I can do that. When I finally got my kit, I was just starting to get into metal, just this like double bass, hard hammering, fast tempo sound. And it was the perfect time for me to start playing because that's what came naturally to me. Not long after that, I started August Burns Red with JB and Brent, and I didn't really need any more inspiration to keep playing than that. It was just like, hey, let's get together and play, every couple of days. And having the band kept me plugged in to playing drums. I've only actually talked to my family and a couple friends about this. I guess it's kind of embarrassing for me, but I had a bad habit on drums of lifting up my feet off the pedal. And this might not sound like a bad habit if you don't know drumming, but you lose a lot of speed and efficiency when you do that. So if you pick your foot up off the pedal, that time and space is going to inhibit the ability to play fast, right? Because there's time that's lost there. So when I got home from tour, the Dangerous tour, I was like, how am I gonna fix this? So I took gaff tape, which is pretty much a duct tape on steroids, and I took my shoe off, these shoes, and I taped my shoe around the pedal. I just wrapped a couple rolls around, both sides. Put my feet in, lost blood circulation. Took my foot out, untaped, retaped a little bit looser, and then started playing. And it was so weird because I didn't have the ability or the option to pull my foot off the footboard because they were taped. My thinking was that this would correct my habit. Eventually I would just play with this long enough that I wouldn't be able to pull my shoe off the footboard, and so I wouldn't eventually do it at all. I think it was helpful. We're on tour, we're 6 shows in. I do notice that I am more connected to the footboard. The songs that we're playing on our current tour are from a record called Constellations, and the songs are really fast in general. It's very thrashy and up-tempo, and it's difficult on drums. And it's funny, a lot of people say, well, you wrote those songs, you know, you should just be able to play them. That was 10 years ago. Well, I don't know if it's just the fact that we're getting older or we've shifted genres a little bit or tempos, but it is a challenge. I personally like that aspect of playing drums. If it wasn't challenging, I probably wouldn't be playing drums anymore, because I'm the kind of person that if something's difficult for me, I want to work at it and work at it and work at it and work at it until I get better. If you have a problem, you can either find a solution and fix the problem, or you can just ignore the problem and it continues being a problem. And this is too long of a tour for it to be a problem. If you have a bad habit, typically what happens is it robs you of the joy that you could be having otherwise, and I wanted to have fun on this tour, and the more efficiently I play the songs, the more fun I have. As far as hand technique, I've never really had issues with like tendonitis or carpal tunnel or anything. If your body is working against itself, if you're holding the sticks like this, you know, you're probably going to be tense all the time, you're probably going to get carpal tunnel or tendonitis. So the way I approach technique is, if you have bad technique or poor technique, then your body's going to pay for it. So I like to have good posture. I don't really think about it, but I have good posture, therefore I don't have back pain. You know, I like to hold the sticks somewhat loose. If I hold it tight and I grip them like this, I'm probably going to get carpal tunnel or tendonitis, right? So the application of good technique is just to alleviate any problems or pain on your body, really. Some people choke up on the stick pretty high. What I like to do is hold the stick back so that my thumb is, generally speaking, if you play Vic Firth, it's over the United States flag. It's a good way to remember it. And the reason for that is when you hit the snare drum, it's kind of the fulcrum in that the stick bounces back up. So if you're holding the stick up here, you're kind of killing that rebound. If you picture a basketball, you know, you want it to sort of bounce back like a basketball. So if you're back too far, it's like dead weight. And if you're up too far, it's not really going to bounce. All the weight's back here. So balance is a big part. So having my thumb over that flag is helpful. Now I can just bounce back. So I generally play French grip, which is thumb on top. The other form is German grip. And then the third is match, which is in between. I play between French and match. If I'm playing a quick blast beat, I'm probably going to play more match. If I'm over on my ride or like a bouncy surface, I'm going to use French grip, because I can actually pull the stick up off the cymbal or bouncy surface. The voice that I have on drums is really important, because there are so many drummers out there, so many amazing drummers, and there can only be one Aaron Spears, there can only be one Travis Barker, there can only be one Steve Gadd. You can try to emulate those drummers, and that's a really fun thing to do, but for me, it's not enough. I want to have my own sound. Let's say I was playing drums in this room, the door's closed, you went walking by, and you hear someone playing drums. You can't see them, you just hear the beat. Would you be able to tell who it is? And if it were Travis Barker, I think the answer would be yes, because he has his own voice. So I spent a lot of time working on different fills, different stickings, and I have a few different cymbals on my kit, bells, literally bells and whistles, bells on my kit that help to kind of separate myself from other metal drummers, hopefully. As a drummer, I think you have a lot of responsibility. If you don't feel that way, maybe it's because of the genre you're playing in, and that it's more centered around the vocals or another instrument. But for me, I take drumming pretty seriously with the band, because I feel like I am at times the glue that holds everything together, in a sense. Not that I am that important of a part to play, but just the fact that if I fall apart, it's pretty noticeable, and everybody else in the band's going to turn around and go, whoa, 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 where are we, or what happened? And everybody has that same amount of responsibility or pressure. So if you are a drummer in a band, I would say the first thing to do is just spend time falling in love with your instrument, because when the responsibility hits and the pressure hits and touring hits and you're employing all of these people with your band that you started in your basement, there's a lot of pressure, and it has the potential to take away the joy and the natural gift that playing music is. When a hobby turns into a job, the trick is keeping it a hobby and not making it all about a job. And so As a drummer, just continue to fall in love with your instrument. The thing I say when you practice, the 3 S's, smile, suck, and shred. Start by smiling. Do not start by playing something you can't play. Put that right in the middle. And then end with something you can play that makes you feel really good. That way when you come back to the kit, you're going to be inspired to keep playing. Sounds silly, but seriously, when you're sitting down playing drums, start by smiling, because you started playing drums for a reason, and it's easy to lose that focus over time when you're playing. As hard as that is to believe, if you're not in a band or you're starting a band, you're thinking, how in the world would you ever, take this for granted, or not want to do this, or not be happy doing this? If it doesn't matter what it is, if it becomes your job and it becomes routine for you, it can lose its appeal. Practice hard when no one's watching, when no one's looking. That's when you're going to grow. Close the door and just put in the time. Sweat, work hard. The third thing I'd say is just make connections, talk to a lot of people, be nice to people, don't take advantage of people. That'll go a long way. And also, huge thanks to Drum Workshop, DW Drums, for putting so much time and effort into education and putting drummers like myself out there for other drummers to see. Huge thanks to Alternative Press. Back when I first started the band, AP was like the magazine I'd go into Barnes & Noble and look at and oftentimes buy. I just was like fascinated with this magazine that covered the kind of music I loved, that none of my friends or family really knew about. It was very special to me. So it's neat to be featured on the same platform 15 years later.